Welcome to the Insurance Agency Success Podcast, the only podcast that helps insurance agencies grow their business while increasing their happiness and joy. I'm Eddie Price, founder of Jenesis Software and an agency owner for more than 30 years. I have started, bought, sold, and scaled agencies, and for the last 25 years, helped others do the same through Jenesis. On this show, you're going to hear real stories and proven strategies to help you streamline your operations, increase profits, and really enjoy the business that you've built. And if you'd like to learn more about what we do here at Jenesis Software, just visit genesissoftware.com, click on the orange button to request a demo.
So I think you're going to like today's episode. Today, I interviewed Jayme, our corporate chaplain here at Jenesis Software, and what you're going to learn in this podcast is something you will be able to put in place. You will be able to, for almost nothing, have a corporate chaplain or a care team, care person, care coach for your business. And I would 100% recommend that you watch this episode in full and that you follow up and explore this opportunity. What you're going to learn here today and what Corporate Chaplains of America can do for your organization, in addition to helping you care for your team, which hopefully you just want to do anyway, but it will, beyond the shadow of a doubt, increase the likelihood of you bringing on better team members. Guarantee you of this. It'll help you keep team members easier because your team members are going to always be able to go somewhere else and make more money. You can't outpay what their options are. The only thing you can do is care for them in a way that they don't want to leave. This episode is going to be something that you're going to want to see. So I hope you stick around, enjoy it. If I can help you, if you have questions after you see this episode, please reach out. I'll be glad to share any information with you that we can. Having a corporate chaplain in our business at Jenesis Software is the single best decision I think maybe we've ever made, but certainly in a long time. So hope you enjoy. So Jayme, welcome to my podcast.
Thanks for asking me.
Thank you for taking the time to do this. Let's start by you talking a little bit about who you are, what you do, kind of how we know each other, and how long you've been doing that. And then we'll just kind of go through see where that takes us.
All right. My name's Jayme, and I work for Corporate Chaplains of America, which companies contract out to have a chaplain serve their employees or their teammates. So I am contracted by Jenesis to serve the team of Jenesis. And basically, I serve as a caregiver for those people. I'm a safe, confidential space with training where people can go and talk to me about whatever's happening in their lives. So it could be work related, but it could also be anything else, health, financial, relationships, whatever it may be. And so it's just a way for companies to care for their team and their people.
I heard a guy the other day, as you were saying this, dawned on me, and I didn't have a great answer for him. I told him a couple things. And he's, ironically, a lot of people watching this will not know what C12 is. You do. You know what C12 is. And that's how I kind of found you, was through C12. But a guy in my C12 said, a lot of people tell me to take care of my employees. He said, what does that even mean? And I told him, I said, it means a lot of things. It's not a quick answer, but you're part of that answer. A person like you and your role can be definitely part of that answer. What did you do leading up to this? How did you get to where you are now in this role? Because you don't just go from something totally unrelated probably to doing this.
You're right. I'll kind of give you my professional background. So I always, from a very young age, felt called to serve people, to reach people. And so I wasn't exactly sure what to study. And I prayed about it before I went to college. And I felt like God told me, get an education degree. You're not going to be a teacher, but you're always going to be teaching people. So I started out in education, and my very first job was teaching English as a second language. So there's a lot of cross-cultural stuff in my whole background. So I taught English as a second language in a public middle school. But while I was doing that, I immediately started doing classes for ordination in my church denomination, and my husband and I were youth pastoring in a church. So after we did that for several years, we decided that we wanted to go deeper into those studies. So both of us co-pastored a church while attending full-time seminary. And so that was 4 years of graduate work to get my Master's of Divinity. And during that time also, I was continuing to go through the whole process of becoming ordained. So I was ordained in my church. After that, my husband and I moved to Europe for 8 years. During that time, I was doing a lot of different things, but particularly leadership development. So that was just taking young people, helping them to develop as leaders, caring for them on a personal level, and helping them get their theological education. So I worked a lot with a Bible college and theological education. We adopted 3 girls. And I know that's not part of my professional story, but it explains why we ended up coming back to the United States. So our girls needed some special education, which was not available in the country we were living in. So we moved to South Carolina. And there I was on staff at a church for a while, but I eventually transitioned over to become a chaplain with Corporate Chaplains of America. And I've been doing that for the last 4 years.
Are the businesses you work with like Jenesis? We are a fully remote team. Our relationship with you is remote, and your relationship with all our team members is remote. Just like my relationship with all our team members is remote. Are your other businesses that you work with also remote?
Yeah. So most of the chaplains are in person. There's only a few of us that do this. I work fully remotely, but not all the companies are fully remote. So there are companies like yours where every single person is remote, but then there's other companies where some people come into an office and they have a chaplain come into them in person. But then maybe they have some people who work from home, or people who work out in the field doing manual labor, or maybe they're caregivers that go into homes of elderly people, or whatever it may be. Whoever doesn't come into that office and can't connect with that in-person chaplain, then they are served by a remote chaplain like me.
Okay. And I would imagine most of our listeners have brick and mortar. Most of our listeners are not fully remote. A few are. Most have an office and may have some remote team members. So if they wanted to utilize someone like you, then you're saying those exist, that it could be someone in their same town.
Yes.
That could come in and see people and meet with people as needed and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Are there, in your experience, we have about somewhere between 20 and 30 team members. What's your smallest business or client, or what is the smallest? Because again, some of the people watching this that may be interested in contracting with a company like yours, because I will say kind of early on here, it's been one of the best decisions we've ever made as an organization, ever. I didn't know about it years ago. And even when I first learned about it, I didn't understand it completely. That's why I'm wanting to do this, to try to hopefully educate some people to know what I didn't know. How small do you think? How small is too small?
I don't know if there is a too small. I have had companies that had 3 or 4 people is the smallest that I've done. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah. And that's our customers. We have some that are one-man shows, one-woman shows, and then we have some that are 30, 40, 50 employees. But on average, it's 3 to 5 employees is the average insurance agency that we work with. So I know for us, when I first started meeting people through my C12 organization that had a chaplain, I heard about it a few times before I even let it sink in. I knew what a chaplain was. I'd watched MASH growing up, and I knew there was a chaplain father, somebody. Did you ever watch MASH?
Yes.
Okay. But I didn't really understand what that would do for me. So somewhere along the way, as I heard about it more and knew more people were doing it, I wanted to learn more about it, met with your organization, before you and I ever met, before they assigned you to us. So I felt like this would be a person that we would make available to our team members, and that if they needed to talk to someone, that would be someone that would be a safe person to talk to, because they may not want to talk to their own family. They may not want to talk to their coworkers, may not want to talk to their employer. They would have this relationship like and some people might do that at church, go talk to the preacher if they've got something going on in their life. And some people are not in church. And some people may not, I guess, not even want to talk to their own preacher. Then you're really, that outside of it. So is that kind of what you see, that the big advantage? I mean, there's other resources that you give. You're connecting with people constantly when they want to be connected with. Is that what you see the biggest advantage being, in the biggest utilization of your service, is people that need someone to talk to, or is there more?
I think, yes, people needing someone to talk to. Now, it's not always that someone needs to be anonymous. That is the case. There are times when I have people say, I haven't talked to anyone about this except for you, because everyone's like a part of my family and I don't want them to know, or a part of my life, my circle. But for most people, it's not so much about anonymity. It's just really available, so you might have a therapist, but you have to pay for the therapist, you have to schedule it, you have to drive there, all this stuff, right? In this case, for the team, they're not paying for it, and they literally can pick up the phone and call me, or they can click and schedule a meeting with me. So it's just so available and so easy. And just a lot of people need to process with someone. They need to talk it out. They need to be heard. They need some different perspective. They need to think through things together. And I mean, sometimes we come out of a conversation and I feel like, wow, like we came up with a good answer. But then there's other times when I don't feel that way, but the person still feels like did something for them. Because I think sometimes just being able to speak it out loud and be heard and someone listen is what they need.
Yeah, 100% agree with that. I know with our group, you've definitely had some meaningful relationships and had an impact on people. And we have people in our organization, of these 20 or 30 people, that some are Christians, some are believers, and some are not. All amazing people. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you've had the luxury and experience and privilege of being able to help and talk to all of those people. And the way I've understood your approach is, you're not getting on a call with everyone and saying, oh, let's pray together. Sometimes if that's not what they want, that's not how you show up, right?
You're right. Absolutely. So let me take this in two directions. First of all, across all the companies that I have served and do serve, any type of person, whether it's sexual orientation, nationality, ethnicity, faith background, whatever you can imagine, I've served them. We've served them. So it's everyone. And basically the stance of our chaplains is, this is voluntary. No one's forced to talk to the chaplain. So people just do it if they want to. And second of all, it's by permission if we would talk about anything faith related. So I never speak to someone about faith unless they ask me to, or if I'm in the conversation, I think it could be helpful, I'll say to them, how would you feel about us bringing faith into this conversation? And if they say yes, we go for it. If they say no, we don't. We never go there. So it's completely the person who I'm talking to is in control of where we go in the conversation and what conversations they want to have and don't want to have.
Okay. If I were giving advice to our customers, independent insurance agencies, I would tell every one of them, I'd have to think about it for a second if it's just them. I don't know about that. I'd have to think about that. But if they've got probably one employee or more, if the owner does, I would highly recommend this service. And the cost, when I first inquired about it, I kind of had an expectation, like we all do about most things. And my expectation was that this service would cost far more than it does. And at the end of this podcast, you and I'll kind of give some information where people can learn more about this, and they're welcome to contact me, and they can learn more about pricing. And I don't know if pricing is the same for everybody in every situation. I don't know that part, but I know that it was so affordable. So I would recommend every single person do it. And I think for people, there will be some people, some business owners may not be faith-based, and some might be, but even the ones that are going to church every Sunday, they may still feel like, and I get this, they may feel a little uncomfortable saying, oh, listen, team, now we have a chaplain. So for the people that, well, that's what we say, we have a chaplain. But I could see how some people might not be comfortable with that. So you're going in those situations as what, care something, right?
A care coach.
Care coach, okay.
Yes,
I like
care
that.
Coach.
So that's perfect, I think, for the people who might watch this podcast, might say, well, I understand that it is important for me to care for my team. They're the most important thing in my business. My team is the most important thing in my business. They're more important than the customers. If the organization, if the owner, if the business will take care of the team, well, then they will love and care for the customers very well. So I think the most important thing is the customers. I think this is a no-brainer decision for anyone to make because the cost is so reasonable. And if they are uncomfortable calling it a chaplain, if they're not great, that's cool. If they are, then it's a care coach. And you are connecting with permission to people. What methods are you using and what kind of frequency?
So because I'm remote, with most of my people, I email them weekly. And they all know, like, you can respond if you want, but it's mostly to keep me in front of their face so that they just don't forget that I'm there for them, right? But I have other companies that use other methods. It's probably like anything you can imagine. Some people have platforms like Slack that I'll use, and so it's more of chatting back and forth through that, or Teams chat, or different things like that. Some use Facebook a lot. Basically, whatever the owner of the company feels is the best way to connect with his or her team is what we use.
Okay. And I know we use Google Chat a lot, and you feel like, to me, and I believe to the rest of our team, you feel like just another team, but not just another team member, but you don't feel like this outsider. You know, you're in our chat saying, good morning, hope you're doing well. Here's kind of what I'm doing today.
That's the goal. The goal is for the people on the team to think I'm the chaplain for only their company and I don't have any other companies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they think, oh, this is just one of the people that works here.
Yeah.
And so for a lot of teams, if they have a team meeting, I'll show up, even if I don't say anything, just so my face is there, just to break down any intimidation that people might have of talking with me, or for people thinking, who is this person? Just so they know, oh, this is someone that's on the team.
Yeah. And that's a good point you bring up about meetings. We have quarterly team meetings at Jenesis where the entire organization's there. And you've been attending those pretty much since day one, probably. And we ask for you to open each of those meetings with prayer. And it's always a short prayer. It's not, again, because we know there's people on that call that don't have that same belief. You're speaking to someone that they don't believe in. That's their right. And we work pretty hard not to make them uncomfortable. We want to work pretty hard to make them comfortable.
Yes.
So that's been a really cool thing for us to have you do that. And I grew up in early days in business, especially being from the South, I guess, that it was really common to open meetings with prayer. You know, big organizations even, and before a meal for the big group, they would always bless the food. And so again, I think there's some people that says, oh my gosh, to open a meeting with prayer is weird. Of course, they don't have to. Like you said, you come to some meetings and you're just there. You're part of the team. But if they need us for you because of your eloquent words that to open in prayer, that you will do that. So, and we've loved that part. I know for us, and I don't know how much if you want to give any examples or not people or anything like that for sure, but I know in our case, we've had some people that maybe engaged right away, and then we had some people that engaged when they were kind of in a moment, in a crisis, right? And I guess that's pretty typical. You don't have to share any kind of story from any of your experiences, but you're welcome to if you'd like, if you have that type of story that you'd like to share an example. Would you like to, or nothing come to mind, or nothing worth share worthy or appropriate?
I mean, that for that particular thing, that's just a really common experience for chaplains. And I'll talk about the in-person chaplains too, since maybe a lot of the people listening to this would have an in-person chaplain. You know, a chaplain will show up each week and they'll just try to make contact with each person. It could just be like, hey, good morning. How's your day going? Or smile, eye contact, whatever, but try to make contact with each person each week so that they're available if someone wants to talk. And there's so many stories of people who shut their door every week or just won't look up or whatever it may be until a crisis hits. And unfortunately, statistics tell us that we hit a crisis about every 2 years in our lives.
I know, yeah.
That's the
I thought
average.
that was just me.
No, that's the average. And so when a crisis hits, if they've seen that person consistently week after week, kind of built a relationship, know that they're kind, know that they're there, it's real easy for that person then to turn to the chaplain to talk. And so that we see that a lot happen. You know, you asked me earlier, and so I don't know if this relates to this question, but when have I seen like a real life transformation? So this does not come from your company, and the story doesn't even come from any companies that I currently serve. So this is from my past. But I had a lady who, when I met her, she had been living in a trailer, but the trailer had electrical problems, burned, and she was currently living with her 12-year-old daughter in a hotel. And she had a boyfriend who was a drug addict. And I mean, her life was just really dysfunctional. And so I just listened to her every week and we talked and I started praying with her little by little. This one is very faith-based story, but they're not all like this. But I started praying with her little by little. And eventually we just came to the conclusion, like, God's the only one that can help you dig out of this hole. And so I asked her, do you want to pray and just ask God to become the leader in your life? And she agreed, and we prayed. And from that day on, I watched her life transform. And by the end of the time when I moved away from where I was living, she was living in another place, like had her own place. She started eating healthy. She exercised and went to the gym. She had a support group that she would go to of like, you know, people who had relatives and stuff with addictions. She was no longer in that one relationship. Every morning she got up and two other ladies and her had devotions together. She was attending church. She was doing better at work and getting a promotion there. I mean, just whatever aspect of her life that you can imagine, it was different. Like it was just a total transformation of her. And that was awesome to watch.
Yeah. That is awesome. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Sometimes the momentum, I think, of improvements like that just continue to cascade in your whole life. I know Lisa and I even, it seems like when we may get through a season of being distracted and busy, maybe work focused a little too much. But then when we find ourselves backing off and recalibrating, resetting a little and refocusing on people, team members, customers, and others that are in need, everything cascades to a better place. And we met with our, this is kind of personal, it's financial, personal, business, personal, but we met with our CPA yesterday, and we've given more personally and at Genesis this year than we've ever given to charity and whatnot. And we met with our CPA last year. Revenue has never been this high in 25 years, and profits have never been this high. Well, I'm not sure. Profits may have been this high at one point. I don't remember for sure. But profits, not recently, profits, margin, percentage, and revenues at an all-time high. And I just think it's because when we stop working so hard to make that happen and we just refocus on caring for others, then all that other stuff seems to just cascade in place and fall where it needs to fall. So it's a beautiful thing. The people also that are watching this, I didn't think about this when we started this. There could be someone that thinks what you're doing would be an interesting career path. Any advice for those people? Because I didn't even think about that, but in hearing you talk about this, there are people from all walks of life that are being nudged in this direction or that direction often. Any thoughts or advice for people that would say, I'd like to learn more, or what kind of person, what are the qualifications to be able to pursue a career like that to help others?
Being a chaplain, you mentioned the military with MASH. There's hospital chaplains. And for that, usually through hospitals, there's actually a certification program that you can go through that's pretty intense, but they take you through their own training and certification. And then there's corporate chaplains, and they expect a lot of you. I don't want to discourage anybody, because if you feel like this is what you're supposed to do, then you should go for it. But because we are dealing with people's lives, they have to really be able to trust chaplains, right? So everyone goes through a pretty intensive interviewing process that is multiple steps, and some testing and things like that, background checking. But also, as far as work and education, they like for you to have theological education, and they also want you to have some secular or non-spiritual work experience as well, so that you can relate to the people that you're working with, working out in today's marketplace, but also that you have that background of education to pull from into these conversations to support and help people. And then once you become a chaplain, you go through ongoing training constantly, where they are training you on all different types of topics. So whether it's stress or finances or suicide or addictions or parenting or caring for aging, like you name it, we're constantly getting trained in those different areas.
Yeah, and I had not thought about that aspect. Before we close in a minute, we'll make sure we give resources for people to learn more about Corporate Chaplains of America if they want to explore this for their business. But it didn't dawn on me until some of the stories you were telling that it's likely somebody would see this and think, I've kind of had a calling for that. At Genesis 2 or 3 years ago, we started what we call a care team. And for people who don't know what that is, for us, it's where it's a pretty structured department, I guess, of our organization. And we have information about it on our website. And its intention, the care team, is intended to care for our employees. So that could be wishing them a happy birthday, anniversary, work anniversary, changes in life, celebration, acknowledgments, things like that, but also to care for them maybe even financially when they've had something medical, or we've had several things. We've had a few medical problems with team members that they would need help financially. So we've set aside a budget, we help. So I just want to mention that we've loved doing that. And over this past year, you've joined and you've kind of become a team member as part of that care team, correct?
Yes. Yeah, I have.
What any comments there or thoughts about doing that. Are you doing that with any other companies?
I do have other companies that do that. And sometimes it's fully caring for the team. Sometimes it's also trying to create team culture, a lot of different things. I think I was thinking about this before you and I started the podcast, and there are business advantages to having chaplaincy. In general, it helps you to have just a mentally healthier team. And a lot of times it helps with retention, not as much turnover at work and things like that. But most of the people that I serve that have chaplaincy in their company, it's because they just truly care about their people and they really, really want to take care of them and show them that they care. And because of that, chaplaincy is one arm of that care that that person wants to give to their team. And so there's just this whole culture in the companies I serve of knowing that you individually are cared for, that we're looking out for you, that we have your best interest in mind. They're great companies to work for. And so there's various aspects. So whether it's the owner themselves, it's having the chaplain, it's having a care team, it's various things that are all a part of this package of we are a company who actually cares about you.
Yeah. Well, back to my comment earlier about my friend at my C12 group saying just this past month, when they say care for my people, what all does that mean? And that's kind of what I told him. What you just said is it means a lot of things, but I do think it needs to be rooted in true care. And if you're not ready for that in your season of life, I went through a lot of my career focusing on the career, focusing on the business, focusing in our case on software and getting customers and maybe trying to make the customer happy. And it took me a while to really try to focus on caring. And I love the word now. I love the word generosity. I love the word care and caring, but to do that for your team. And we are extending, as you know, we're extending our care team now out beyond team to include customers. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes. But a couple things that I thought about when you were saying all that. I had already written the word down, retention, because you're right. When you break this into noble intent versus business decision, because they both exist, they can both exist. And the business part of it, I'd already written down. If someone is watching this podcast and I'm telling them, you should definitely, by the way, it's month to month. I'm pretty sure. I don't think it's a year commitment. So we sign up month to month. It's less expensive than I thought. And you should definitely try it and cancel it if you don't like it. It's one of the best decisions we've ever made, but it will, I'm 100% sure at Jenesis, it probably has. We don't really have a retention problem, but it's probably because we do a lot of things like this. But I believe it so affects your retention of your team members. And when I talk to independent insurance agencies, these are small agencies, typically 5 to 10 employees on average. One of their biggest problems, Jayme, is finding good team members and keeping good team members. Mm-hmm. That's a bigger problem than sales and marketing and everything else. So everything they do, like you were saying, all these different things that you can stack up to do to help is worth pursuing. Retention and hiring, I think it helps with the hiring too, not just retention, but hiring. And you're right about them being healthier because now they're more productive. Not that you're trying to look for, to squeeze that out of there, but there's so many advantages. One last comment. I think you had said about some businesses do it for the business. Some people do it from a standpoint of generosity or caring. I think I shared this with you a while back. I've started writing some blogs recently. I've never done that before. And my blogs lean toward a little faithy, but they're good blogs, or I hope they are, about people running business and growing their business and all these different topics. And here's what I wanted to share with you. So one of the blogs I wrote was based on that book and some of the things that I learned and took away. I love it when I read a book and have a takeaway. Mm-hmm. Some books you don't have as many as others, but man, if I've got something I can implement, I just love it. And that book I did. So I mentioned in some of the emails that I've sent out a lot of emails saying, here's my blog talking about this book and some of the things I learned. And I say in there, because at first I had my copy of the book, and I've done this with a lot of other books that I read, and I don't want to, Lisa doesn't want me to, my bookshelves really get big and out of control. And so I will give the book away. I'll put in the email, if you'd like a copy of the book, I'll give you my copy. And when I give them my copy, then we take that out of future emails. Like if it's automation, emails going out to thousands of people, we don't keep offering it because the book's already gone. What I want to share with you is we've left that in, and now every time, and we get it, that's the most requested book I get. Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
I mean, I've got books that are written by these famous business authors, but this is the number one most requested book that I get. And now what Misty does is she just goes to Amazon and sends them a book. I don't have my copy to give them anymore, but if they say, oh, I'd love to have your copy of the book, she just sends them a copy of the book. And she had said, do you want to take that out of the email? I said, no, now it feels like a ministry. It feels like something that I want to keep doing. So sorry to ramble. This is supposed to be about you, but I wanted to share that about the book.
No, that's really, really great. As you were talking about retention, I was just thinking, imagine places that people work. There's so many places where the company doesn't care about them at all. Like they're literally just production. They might as well be a machine, and the company has no loyalty to them at all. As soon as they don't need them, they'll just get rid of them. I mean, unfortunately, that's where some companies are today. And on the other hand, because of that, just generations younger, they don't have an expectation of staying with one company for a long time. They just expect I'm going to have to move and move and move because, that's just how it is. But the companies that I serve, I constantly hear people say, I love working for this company so much. Like, I'm not going to do anything to rock the boat because I want to stay here. Because to be, even just in life in general, how many people are lonely or how many people don't feel cared for? And so it's such a gift for someone. If you go somewhere and you actually feel like somebody cares about me, like I'm not just a number, like I'm a name and I'm a face and they know me personally and they know about my life and my family. And it's so rare that it actually becomes this huge, attractive thing for your company to be that.
Totally agree. And, for years, I bought into this idea of in business, you don't make your coworkers your friends or your employees your friends. That came to, I don't know where I was taught that early on, but you're right. That's totally the opposite of how we treat people today. And we've improved so much in these kind of things over the last 10 to 20 years because I've been in business 30. I can't wait for the next 10 or 20 years. It's really going to really be good. A comment I've made to people quite a bit is you will always be able to find a job making more money. You could go right now, Jayme could go right now and find a job making more money. I could probably go find a job making more money than I make owning Genesis. Every team member at Genesis, everyone could search and find a job making more money. Now, when they get that job, they could do it again, and they do it again. To me, that would be a miserable life. And I think I've always been a nice guy. People have always told me I'm not. You think I'm nice, by the way?
I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've always been told I've been nice, but I didn't really care like I do now. And I think some people may think it's okay. I don't know why I can't hire people. I don't know why I can't keep people. I'm a nice person. But there's something different. Don't you think? There's something different in how you show up and how you come alongside people when you're just a nice person versus when you care about those people. What have we missed today? Anything
we could go on forever, but we have covered a lot.
Yeah. I don't think, is there anything that you can think of that you'd like to talk about or share that we haven't?
I don't think so.
We'll do that in part 2, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you doing this, and I appreciate what you do at Genesis. And I think it's important for us to appreciate people from one another. I was telling Misty's my assistant, and you work a lot with Misty, I think. She and I were meeting before this, and you guys are planning some kind of thing. I guess you know about this. You guys the care team is planning something for year end or Christmas Eve as a little get together for the group. And she was asking me for my input, and I didn't have much. I said, "You guys got this." I said, "Just make sure it's fun, caring, loving, considerate." And then kind of went back after we talked about a couple of things and said, "I want people to feel appreciated." So I think that's a big deal. So I appreciate you very, very much.
Thank you.
I hope you're the relationship we always have with your company. I know sometimes those kind of things can change. We love our preacher right now, and I've had preachers that are fine. We love this preacher for the last 2 or 3 years, and to the point where Lisa and I sometimes will think, "Well, I hope he doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
Let's check the budget, make sure finances are good." So he stays. But Jayme, if anyone would like to learn more about signing up or getting more information about pricing or other services, and we didn't even include, there's an app with your organization. You folks will visit team members in the hospital. There's other stuff we could talk about. It's the coolest thing ever. And that doesn't change the pricing. It's not like they charge you when they go do this or that.
Yeah.
How would they learn more? How's the best way to learn more?
I would just go on to the website of Corporate Chaplains of America. A lot of things like pricing, they won't have published there, but they tell you who to contact. So it'll lead you to who you need to talk to about different things.
Okay. So, and I would encourage people, I'm like this about everything, explore it even if you're 50-50 whether you want to do this or not, or you think maybe me saying it doesn't cost much, they may think, yeah, but I still don't, my budget's tight. Make yourself smarter by going and doing the research. Call somebody, get on a demo, learn more, and maybe if now's not the time, one day will be.
I agree with what you're saying. You can go so far as to have somebody basically just sit down and design a plan of how it would work best for your company and what it would cost and everything. And you still don't have to make a decision to do it, but you would have all the information. And they do their main goal is to serve people. So they're willing to work with people too. So I would have the conversations, like you said, and gather information.
Yeah. All right, Jayme. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, have a great rest of your day.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Insurance Agency Success Podcast, where independent insurance agencies like you get the tools and insights to grow, streamline, and enjoy your business. And if you're ready to simplify and scale, visit genesissoftware.com, Genesis with a J, and click on the orange button to request a demo. I appreciate you being here. Keep growing, keep building, and I'll see you next time.